as regards, tax a situation here in Nigeria?
Well, I think this president, one of his strong suits, even as a governor, is he knows how to tax. He knows how to catch people or bring people into the tax net. And I think from the arguments going on when he started, it's clear that a lot of states felt shortchanged. They were contributing more than they were getting. And for instance, when you talk about some of the maybe vatable items, somebody says, oh, I bought a recharge card in Kano, but it's registered under one of the telecoms companies who is headquartered in Lagos. So it counts for Lagos as against the consumption which happens elsewhere. So the tax bill is designed, some part of it is designed to address issues like that. So you are VATed, or VAT is counted according to where you spent or you bought that product. You also have some exemptions in terms of house food items, education products, renewable energy. So those are exempted from taxation. So every other thing is now taxable. And then you also have the consolidation of revenue generating agencies into the National Revenue Service. So you have your customs, your FIRS, anybody who is collecting revenue comes into one house so that everything is streamlined. You don't have to, I think part of it is to eliminate multiple taxation. So on the face of it, those aspects of it are good. And you also have sharing formula, like I mentioned earlier, where states are encouraged now, since you're going to be getting VAT on, so please increase production, increase vatable opportunities in your state. Although there were arguments for and against that some states would, by virtue of their size and capacity, would have more advantage than others, maybe in the northern side of the country. So these are some of a little breakdown of what's in the bill. But then for small scale businesses and regular people, it looks like it's going to ameliorate some pains.
I was going to ask you that.
If you earn maybe say less than ₦1 million in a year, you're not going to be paying certain taxes. And if you have a small business that's not making, I think, up to 50 million naira, you will also be exempted. But here is the thing: the system now sees you. We have to see you to exempt you. So because it now goes into your banking records, your bank accounts, it can see your so some people are concerned about privacy issues surrounding this bill because it is quite invasive. And I think it was purposely designed to be invasive, so people don't escape.
It's really invasive because one would expect that for everyone who is working and earning on in the country, businesses also which is running in the country, which is registered, which should be registered. We should see exactly what's going on with your business. I think most times businesses hide under the cloud of privacy, and sometimes there are irregularities that people get away with in the system. So when the system sees you, doesn't it eliminate all of that?
So yes, it does, but then you can't also sacrifice certain things, certain principles on the altar of we need to catch certain people in. Your financial information, for instance, should be at your behest to release. You understand? But where the government can just straight up go to they have your bank records and say this money came in. Now, not all monies that come into people's bank accounts are business related. And then in fact, you will argue that a lot of things are already taxed before that money even gets to you. Because you have telecoms company who would tax you, you have the banking system who would tax you for whatever you purchase. So a lot of people are already feeling, why do you need too much information? Would also give you ideas on how to keep shortchanging the people. So yes, it's good, but if the system works well, whichever company is registered, the tax office should have people on ground who monitors if they are still existing, who monitors their operations. Of course, you're supposed to file annual returns, you're supposed to do a whole lot of things. So I don't think they should move their responsibility to start taking charge of that in a way that doesn't speak well, because this is once the government has certain powers, they can abuse it, and that's usually the fear people have. When you know how much I have, how much I earn, you can easily decide. Of course, if I'm a political opponent, for instance, you have a lot more to do. And then in the issue of taxation, you have to find, you see that in other climes, taxes are some of the things you use to bring in investment, and sometimes, especially especially the rich, they don't really want you to know how much they earn. They can easily say, okay, give us this, to handle this project, to give us tax write-off. They are not really interested. So it's a balancing act that is very delicate. So the government, yes, needs to see, at the same time, it needs to find a way to protect people's privacy. But overall, on the surface of it, I think it's a good thing. It also helps us get accurate data, because a lot of the system now will be digitized. So you can't easily say, I will escape from this. No, they will see you, they will track you, and it's easy to keep tabs of people and company.
All right, so what about the business owners on the streets? I'm talking about marketwomen selling pepper, the petty traders, and most of them, you know, that they don't have those businesses registered. And how does this new reform actually affect them?
So that's where the challenge is. On paper, this reform seems good, but the implementation is going to be an issue. First, you have to talk about digitizing the whole federation, because you also have state revenue collection agencies, because part of what the tax bill wants to do is also harmonize what you pay from the local government to the state government to the federal government, because you can consume something and you pay a local government tax, pay to the state government, some might end up paying to the federal government. So it is aimed to streamline this. Now, at the local level, a lot of these people pay taxes. They might not be registered business owners, but they are still paying taxes. If you go to any of the markets, for you to display your wares, you have to pay. So
there's always a tax force that goes around on certain days to ensure that they get their money.
The idea, I think, is if you can also eliminate or include these these non-state actors into the system, you can actually capture. And I think that the people on the streets or these small businesses who are not registered, they don't have a problem paying taxes. They pay. It's just that sometimes they are confused why they are paying certain things. They've paid this before, they've paid that. So they need clarity on what they are paying and who they are paying to. So if they are sure that they are paying to the government, it won't be a problem. So the overall issue right now facing the federal government is implementation. The scale is large. For you to include all the revenue generating agencies into one area, you're collapsing offices, you're collapsing responsibilities, you're basically withdrawing organograms. And then when you come to the state and local government level, you're also re-educating people and still setting up new structures. So I think it's not going to be an easy thing to do. And down the line, so you might find pockets of abuses, people who might not agree, people who might want to circumvent the system, because it's just like TSA, that unified government payment into a single treasury account. I think this is almost like an offshoot of what they are trying to do. Let's unify the system. Let's gather all the monies together. Let everybody see, okay, as a business owner, these are the taxes I should pay in a year. So you're not sitting down and another revenue agency comes and say, you never pay this one. You finish paying that one, they say you paid to the wrong people. So I think that's what they are going to do. But in terms of implementation, there's a challenge.
All right. Also in this bill, talk about the VAT reforms that were brought in. Firstly, VAT is going up from 7.5 to 12.5. But as that is increasing and we hear possibly rising to 15% sometime in the future, the same way some companies that tax income tax are also increasing, yearly from 30% to 25%, or reducing 25%, and then maybe 27% this year, and possibly 25% from 2026 onward. Now we hear there will be zero rated essential items like food, healthcare, and education for this VAT. Does this mean that sometimes when you go and eat at certain restaurants, you get the bill, you see a VAT there? Will that not be the case anymore?
Well, I don't know that's the case because of the processes some of these things would pass through. But the idea, I think, is in terms of from the point of entry, for instance, if you're a rice importer, you're not supposed to pay maybe VAT on it. But in terms of every other thing, because you might also need to import machinery, your cookwares, for instance, will be VATed. Your business premises, you might also have to pay some taxes. So those are some of the things that maybe as we develop, as we work with the bill. But I think going out maybe, because this benefits mostly importers who usually, when they import goods and the taxes or levies or tariffs are placed on it, they pass it on to the final consumer, who then, which now translates into inflation, because usually food inflation is like the major driver of inflation in the country. So I think most of it is down to the huge retail guys. The small businesses, like they have said, will be exempt, but we need to know the nature of such exemptions. Like, it's a new bill. We are yet to see how it's going to impact impact small businesses, and of course, on business owners. For instance, people in the tax office, they may not know how to apply it yet. So for the first 2-3 months,
education is necessary.
We might see confusion here and there to say, okay, this should not be taxed, this should be taxed. But at the restaurant level, I'm not so sure. But I think it should have an impact in terms of when you buy the raw goods on the streets and how you deal with them.
Okay. There's a question of who bears the burden of this tax. This rate that has been removed, this zero rated essentials.
But then, sorry, not to cut you, the idea is for the non-VAT. Now, you might not spend on food, you might want to spend on something else, your alcohol, your drinks, or some kind of things. So you still pay some VAT. Let people not get in.
I've noticed that in restaurants.
All right. Thank you very much. Now, the first half of City Press is done, brought to you by Amstel Malts. Moving on to the second half here on City Press and Breakfast in the City on City 105.1.
What does the new Amstel Malta Sleek can look like? Slick, tall, draped in red and gold. Or what does it sound like? And the taste? Rich and oh so satisfying.
Amstel Malta, made with premium quality ingredients. Now in a sleek can.
Still listening? Go get yours. It's now available.
With Amstel Malta, there is always more. Be your best. City 105.1.
True friendship, it lasts forever. True friendship, a gift we share together. No matter where you are, we're there together. Sharing moments, happiness is when we are together.
Multina, share happiness.
The show continues at 7:46 here. Breakfast in the City on City 105.1. We run the city. It is City Press here with Onome and
Ini is my name.
Okay, still taking a look at issues here across the nation. We have Joshua Moses also with us here again today. And we talked about the new tax laws that will be coming into effect very soon here, as soon as the president signs it in. But on the other side of the divide, there's been a lot of talk about opposition going into the 2027 election, and it seems like it's scattered all over the place. Despite coalition talk, the PDP are still trying to get the house in order. Yesterday, we heard news that Senator Anyanwu has been reinstated as the national secretary of the party. INEC has been telling them to sort things out, and we thought, okay, finally, a calm will come into PDP, but it doesn't look that way because a part of the National Working Committee of the PDP has said this goes against what was agreed a while ago, and also the NEC meeting is still going to hold after initially Damago, who is the acting chairman, says that it actually will be cancelled. What's happening with the PDP?
PDP is PDP.
Actually, at this point.
So, because let's trace the history of this conflict. I think it started when the current, the embattled acting secretary chose to go and run for the governorship election. And some section, the Southeast Caucus said, this is against the spirit of the party. If you have resigned to go for an elective position, you shouldn't come back to get this. And then, of course, he is aligned to Wike, who is the, one of the kingpins of the party and key funders of that party. And the Southeast group aligning with Sheyi Makinde was saying that, see, we have somebody else and would like to present that. So they took that to INEC, and the other faction, I think, in fact, everything ended up in court. So the idea is if a party cannot obey its own rules and regulation, then it means there's a problem. Because when he got to the Supreme Court after having gotten judgment at the High Court, Supreme Court said the court should not be involved in inter-party affairs.
That's your
Go
issue.
and sort your issues out. But then I have a problem with it. It seems that the party cannot resolve its issues, and it needs some external parties to come in and help them with it. So we've also seen Bukola Saraki come in with his reconciliation committee, and some section of the party were furious with him because almost immediately he sided with the embattled Anyanwu's faction to say, let's reinstate this guy. And now you have 11 other members of NEC who are saying We are not a party to this, and that has necessitated the calling off of the convention that was supposed to hold, I think, June 30th.
Yeah, June 30th.
Yeah.
And it just tells you that
saying it's still going to happen.
Yeah, that faction is saying it will happen, and they say that the National Working Committee do not have a right to override a NEC decision, and I feel like the PDP structure is very bloated. And as bloated as it is, it has too many interests. And once the interest starts fighting, everybody loses focus of what the goal is, which is to get back power in 2027.
Yeah.
And this plays into the hand of the APC, where if you listen to the president's speech yesterday, he said, I think there was something he called
them. He said they called